Hi, I'm Godfrey Roberts. About 3.5 years ago, I came down with a really bad case of Meralgia Paresthetica, and I couldn't get information about it, anything reliable, and I traveled all over the world to try and get rid of the darn thing, and it took me until a month ago to get finally cured. And during that time, I accumulated an enormous amount of information from neurologists and therapists of all kinds, and I learned, way more about it than anyone really needs to know. But I wanted to, really make sure that it went away and didn't come back. And once I'd finished the task, I wrote this book about curing Meralgia Paresthetica. And essentially, it takes you from how to correctly diagnose the 23 symptoms of Meralgia and which ones you might have and what's not Meralgia, which is good to know. And then it looks at causes, and you'll find in most cases that we all have more than one cause. In my case, I lost weight one summer, a lot of weight, and didn't put it on. And a few months later, I was doing a difficult yoga pose and crushed my lateral femoral cutaneous nerve with the blade of my foot as I was doing a forward bend. And it wasn't, just doing the pose incorrectly, and it wasn't just weight loss, it was the two of them combined. So this will tell you a lot about the combinations, and then how to undo the causes, how to get at the root cause of your symptoms and undo the damage to as much as you can, all the way down to a really cheap, really fast, really safe, and rather enjoyable way of losing a lot of weight in a hurry. But if you've got Meralgia, and I'm guessing you do if you're watching this video, you want to know more than that. So we get into strategies like, what combination of drugs do you take for the first month or 2 or 3? They're pretty heavy drugs, and how do you live with them without damaging yourself? What sort of strategies can you employ for getting to sleep and staying asleep at night? That's always a big bugbear. And what sort of natural, the stuff that's not going to harm you before you get to surgery, and we do talk about surgery, and we even know a surgeon who's done a lot of these very successfully, so if you're really desperate. But in between, there's acupuncture, yoga, rolfing, dozens of techniques, one or more of which will probably work for you. And I tried them all, and I'm not exactly sure which one did the trick, but who cares? The main thing is to get rid of the symptoms. And then, it gets into the nitty-gritty, like if you're going to claim for disability insurance, what is the doctor looking for, the examining physician? Well, we give you the examining physician's checklist for Meralgia so that you understand how to answer his or her questions. So it covers everything. It's everything you need to know. If you don't, my email is on every page, and just drop me a line. I'm happy to answer questions. And if you'd like to take a peek, click on the link below, and it will take you to a free sample of the book. And hope you enjoy it, and I hope it gets you on your feet again soon.